Hola, it's me, Blvkhvnd.
Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to a new video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a pro player that's signed in Pokemon Unite. I've won multiple tournaments and have had high tourney placements in the World Championship Series. Anyways, today we're going to go over the best Pokemon in the meta. I'm going to have a tier list for you guys here, and I'm going to give you the best tips and tricks for these Pokemon. In today's video, I think we're going to have the most success if we switch up the format. I'm going to show you the tier list first, and we're going to go over that. So, this tier list I'm going to put on screen here. It's ranked, you can see S plus S, A tier. Just going top to bottom, pretty obvious here. But it's also ranked from left to right. So, the left Pokemon, so for example in S plus tier, Hoopa, that's what I think the best Pokemon in the game is right now. And then on the right side, Dura, that's the worst Pokemon in S plus tier. But he is still in S plus tier, so he's really good. And obviously every tier means they're better than the other Pokemon. This tier list is a combination of both 5-stack and solo queue. If you don't know what that means, just like if you're playing with an actual group of 5 people, you guys can communicate what you want to do. That is 5-stack, and then solo queue is if you're just playing the game, and you're by yourself and you play with randoms. It's a mixture of both. And I just wanted to make like an overall tier list. In the future, I do plan to make tier lists for like even separate like roles maybe. Potentially in the future, I'm not sure yet. But I'm definitely going to separate solo queue and 5-stack. However, for this one, I kind of mixed both. And I gave like 70% importance to 5-stack and like 30% importance to solo queue. So some Pokemon will be lower than they would be in solo queue. And a quick example I can give you here is Venusaur. Venusaur would probably be like top of S tier in solo queue. However, because it's a mixture of both, he is at the top of A tier. For example, in 5-stack, I'd actually put him a bit lower as well than this tier list shows. So yeah, that's an example of how the tier list works. Let's get into it. These top Pokemon. Hoopa is like the most broken Pokemon in the game in 5-stack. In solo queue, he's not as good, but he's still very good. You know, a good Pokemon is categorized by having good secure, having good movement, and having good team fight potential. Hoopa is like top of his class in all. He can teleport literally his entire team to him with his Unite move if you don't know what he does. He has amazing secure potential. Basically what secure means is that they have a high damage burst move. And Hoopa has that in his Unbound form, as well as Shadow Ball just being a great secure on its own. He has great movement ability on top of that with Trick as well, or Hyperspace Hole, although most pro players do use Trick. And to top it off, his team fighting is insane. Once you go into Unbound form, like his moves basically perma-stun the enemies, which is really good for team fighting. Talonflame, also, like, honestly, I was conflicted on who to put where. If it was just solo queue, Talonflame would probably be put over Hoopa, but actually Lucario would probably be at the top in solo queue. Just because Talonflame, he has amazing team fight, amazing secure potential, but the one thing he struggles at is, we call it objective rip. At the top level, you have to be able to melt objectives fast. You know, there's a time frame, and objectives are like Zapdos, Dreadnought, Rotom, and Talonflame is just really bad at getting those objectives to low health in the first place. So you'll be able to dominate the fights, but getting the objectives, you have to rely on your teammates, which in solo queue is not the best, but in 5-stack it's not a problem at all. Lucario, oh yeah, also Talonflame has amazing movement. That's pretty self-explanatory. Lucario is like basically like a buffed up Talonflame in solo queue. Talonflame does have way better teamfight in the current meta, which is why he's ranked above Lucario and in 5-stack. But in solo queue, Lucario can basically do the same thing Talon does, but better. Duraludon is just amazing in solo queue and 5-stack. He is one of the best secures in the game. The only thing he struggles at is movement, but he's so broken in the other departments that it doesn't really matter. And yeah, S tier, Wiggly is a broken Pokemon. He has a lot of abilities that make him broken. Cinder is also really good, just he kind of gets outclassed by Duraludon, and Talonflame counters Cinderace actually, so that is why she is so low. I think I said he, but it's probably she. Slowbro, he's actually a ways below Wiggly, he's just also really good. Wiggly is probably still the best tank. It does depend on team composition, we'll dive into that later. Eldegoss, outclassed by Hoopa as support, although Hoopa is a support but can also be played as more of an attacker role. If you're confused about that, we'll talk about it later in the video. Greedent in the right hands can be put in S+ tier. The thing with Greedent is I think he takes a lot of macro awareness and actually has a high skill cap as a Pokemon. So that's why I have him ranked so low. Blastoise recently got a buff, so he's pretty good. I actually had him ranked pretty high, and some of my pro player friends like weighed in on my tier list. I asked for suggestions, and they told me they would lower him a bit, so I definitely think Blastoise is up and coming and could be ranked higher than this. Although some people did think he was ranked too high still. A tier is pretty self-explanatory. The only weird pick, I guess some people would say, is Decidueye. I think Decidueye is very strong in this current meta. I even had him ranked way higher, but some Decidueye mains told me that they didn't think so. So I had to respect their opinions and put him below Pikachu and A9. But I would actually rank him above those two for now. B tier, I think Blissey is a class above all these other B tier Pokemon, to be honest. Blissey you could make a case definitely to put Blissey in A tier. But besides that, B tier is pretty self-explanatory. C tier, I wasn't sure where to place Mime and Snorlax. Maybe I'd actually put Snorlax above Mime now that I'm looking at it. Serena, I would have put in D tier until recently, but there's actually a couple teams finding some success with her Stomp move that got a buff, like a patch ago. D tier, I'm actually a very big fan of Trevenant and Aegislash, but I had to respect people's opinions on them. They do have a very high skill cap. I think once you master them, they could be potentially in B tier. But the problem is they have such a high skill cap for such little reward. If you don't play well on them, you're probably throwing by just picking them. And the same goes with Cramorant. I think Dive has a lot of potential, but the high skill cap is just not worth the reward currently. Again, if people start, like, once this game is out for longer, you could definitely make a case to put these Pokemon in higher tiers. I think their skill ceiling is insane, and once actual one-tricks of them come out that main them, play them for thousands of games, I think we'll see some crazy plays with them, and they have a lot of potential for sure. But yeah, that is the tier list. Let me know if you disagree with anything in the tier list. I definitely love to hear feedback on it. Most of my pro player friends agreed with this tier list, but I definitely know the casual perspective is a lot different, so let me know your thoughts on it. Anyways, let's dive into my tips and tricks now for just Pokemon in general. So when you want to start playing and you want to get to like a high level of playing, I highly recommend playing the best Pokemon in the meta. I definitely think Pokemon Unite is such a balanced game that you can play any Pokemon and make it to Master. However, that's also because Masters is such an easy rank to achieve compared to other MOBAs. So if you want to get to high ELO in Masters, if you don't know how Masters works, once you hit 1200 ELO, you can keep climbing, and people have even hit like 3000 ELOs, so it's pretty insane. Sorry. So once you hit Masters, the grind doesn't stop, and I highly recommend playing good Pokemon in the meta if you want to get to like top 100 on the leaderboards. And so that would be like S+ tier, S tier, and A tier. Going down to B tier would be a bit risky. If you're really good at some of the Pokemon in B tier, I'd say you could go for it, even top of C tier, but below that I wouldn't recommend it. Definitely the best Pokemon in solo queue would be Lucario, so if you're not planning to 5-stack, I recommend maining him, although his skill ceiling is very high. If you're looking for someone with a low, that's pretty low skill, you can play like Duraludon, Cinder as well. I'd say Blastoise is a really good option as well. Wiggly obviously, but the problem with Wiggly and Slowbro is if I made a solo queue tier list, they'd be down lots of tiers. I do not recommend these guys in solo queue. It is very hard to carry with tanks. Greedent and Blastoise are tanks, but in the actual meta, they're played more in a carry role. And at the top level, we have this thing called 113. It's most people default to the playstyle that the game introduces you to, which is 2-1-2, and that's where you have 2 people go top, 1 person go middle, and 2 people go bottom. However, pros have found that the best way to play the game is to send 1 top, 1 middle, and 3 bottom. And I definitely plan to make a guide about that soon, so if you'd like to see that, let me know. But the reason for this being, I can give you a couple quick reasons. Dreadnought is very important, and it's an objective that spawns at the bottom. Bottom also has the most XP in the game. Audinos, the pink blobs of Pokemon that spawn down there, give you way more XP than anything on the map besides the jungle boss. Another reason is you want to only send 1 in jungle because if you send multiple people in jungle, it just splits the XP, which jungle ends up having the most XP in the game just because it's more of uncontested farm, as well as the buffs give you lots of XP. And if you don't know already, Unite moves in the game are broken. So getting your Unite move as fast as possible is the best scenario. So if only 1 person is getting the jungle, they usually get Unite move really fast. You can get it within 3 minutes of the game starting, so by 7 minutes, which is absolutely insane. And that is the meta on most team compositions at the top. The jungle tries to hit 9 every game, and that helps them also secure Dreadnought, which is massive for the team. Dreadnought is really valuable because it gives you entire team shields and health, as well as like a full level each for the level you'd be at around then. So yeah, now I'm gonna dive into more of personal tips and tricks on how to get better at these Pokemon individually. So for example, whatever Pokemon you want to main, I highly recommend reading their abilities. So for example, Hoopa, you just go to Pokemon here, and you can click on Hoopa and look at his abilities from the right side here, and it delves into his abilities in a lot of detail here. You can see his passive, his basic attack, what his attacks do, which attacks you should upgrade. And I can tell you right now, the best moveset for Hoopa at the top level is Shadow Ball and Trick. You can read these abilities for yourself and decide which one you want to play. Here's his Unite move as well. He has different moves available to him when he's in his Unite move, if you did not know. But yeah, I highly recommend you read the abilities on these Pokemon. It will really help you know their combos. For example, Talonflame's best moves are Brave Bird and Aerial Ace. And if you didn't read these abilities, you wouldn't know. But if you hit Brave Bird on multiple people, the more people you hit, the more resets you get on Aerial Ace. And Aerial Ace heals you as well when you hit people. I think 50% of the damage you do or something like that will heal you. So it's really important to get those resets, which means the more people you hit with Brave Bird, the more you are rewarded. And you would not know that if you did not read the abilities. And this goes the same for, I highly recommend reading the abilities of good Pokemon in the meta. So for example, the entire S+ tier, S tier, and A tier, I recommend just skimming over the abilities to see what they do. For example, we go back to Talonflame. If you don't want to main Talonflame, but you read his abilities and you realize that Brave Bird gives more resets the more people it hits, now you know you should not group up against a Talonflame, and you should make sure not to get hit by Brave Bird. If your entire team knows this, and they can spread out so only one person will get hit by Brave Bird, when the Talonflame goes in, you will have a much better time against Talonflame. It's hard to do that, but again, just having knowledge like that really helps. Another example I could probably think of off the top of my head is like Greninja. Greninja gets a surf reset every time he kills something, including Wild Farm. You would not know that unless you read his abilities, and knowing that now bees have like some of the lowest health in the game, at least the small bees, and so now you know, like, you probably do not want to go near bees if there's a Greninja nearby. He can literally surf onto the bees and then directly on you, because he'll get a lot of resets off the bees. So just do not stick around bees. For example, if you stand right on top of bees, you'll probably insta-die, because he'll get like 3 resets from the bees just around you and kill you. Yeah. And so general tips in the game as well. When there's certain timers for the Pokemon, so for example, every Pokemon you kill, most of the farm, it will spawn after 1 minute. So this helps a lot in lane. So for example, in bottom lane, you go for the top Adino in the bottom lane and you kill it. You can look at what time you killed it, and now you will know when it spawns. If the enemy does not know this, you can be there when it spawns and get it again. And if you don't know how valuable Wild Farm is, it gives you levels, and every level gives you insane stats compared to the last level. Well, not insane, but some levels give you insane stats. For example, Pokemon that evolve, they usually get like a lot of stats. And that's something I like about Unite compared to other MOBAs. You can kind of see Pokemon power spikes just by seeing when they evolve. Bees, however, do not have a set timer. They spawn every 1 minute and 30 seconds, no matter when you kill them. And they spawn starting at 8:50, and then 7:20, and so on and so forth. And actually, they spawn at different times, depending on what goal zones are up. So just keep that in mind. Being able to know when farm spawns is very important at a top level. So if you're already keeping track of it when you start, you'll be way ahead of the enemy team. Another thing you should know is that objectives are very important. Getting Dreadnought, getting Rotom, these are the difference makers in top games. It might not make a difference in solo queue, but knowing to go for these and just going for them in general should help you to have an edge over your enemy team that might not know that yet at your current rank. Another thing to keep in mind is that objectives will spawn 2 minutes after you kill them. So for example, you kill Dreadnought at 6 minutes, it'll spawn at 4 minutes left in the game. You kill Dreadnought at like 6:30, it'll spawn at 4:30. If you don't do Dreadnought at all, and you wait till like 4 minutes to kill it, it won't spawn in time, because when Zapdos spawns, both Rotom and Dreadnought will disappear, even if they are on the map when Zapdos spawns. Another thing you should know is that Zapdos, obviously it spawns at 2 minutes, I think you should know that, but it is very important. It is the difference maker in most games. Doesn't matter how hard you are losing sometimes, if you get Zapdos, you can still win. Especially in solo queue, Zapdos is usually the difference maker unless your randoms are very stupid and don't go to score afterwards. If you don't know what Zapdos does, it lets you score immediately after you get it, as well as giving your entire team 15 points each to their name. So yeah, Zapdos is very broken. Make sure you are there for it. Another very important tip I can give you is you should save your Unite moves for when objectives are up. For example, if you every Pokemon has different Unite timers for their move, and to get your Unite move faster, you can either score or kill Wild Farm. Killing other Pokemon from the opposing team does not actually help you get your Unite move faster. But for example, Talonflame, if you know how to farm efficiently, can get his Unite move back in like 40 seconds. So if you know you killed Dreadnought at around 6 minutes, right? If it's around 5 minutes, you can still Unite and have it back for Dreadnought. But if it's around 4 minutes and 30 seconds, you do not want to Unite, so you can have that Unite move up to fight for the objective. The reason this is important is, even if you kill him, imagine, you kill them all 30 seconds before an objective spawns, but they do not use their Unite move. Now, they will be able to use their Unite moves to secure that objective, to kill you, because you have to be there for the objective if you want to get it. If you give it up also gives them a lot of XP if it's Dreadnought. Rotom is not as important of an objective as Dreadnought or Zapdos, so that one's a bit more okay to not have your Unite move for. But for example, having your Unite move for Zapdos is very, very important. Another reason for this is because comeback XP is very broken in this game. The game has a lot of mechanics to help the team who's losing come back very easily in the game. Unite, as a MOBA, is one of the easiest games to come back in. Even if you are hard losing, you've died multiple times, it's very easy to still stay in the game. That is one of the biggest reasons they don't track KD in this game as opposed to other games and the score boards. Because they know how easy they made it to come back in this game. That is why I told you that Zapdos is usually the difference makers in game if you have good teammates. Sometimes I've stolen Zapdos when you're hard losing and my teammates still don't go to score, and we would have won if they just went to score after Zapdos. So that's unfortunate. Just make sure you go to score after you get Zapdos. If you die, then getting Zapdos was pointless. So yeah, those are most of the basic tips and tricks I can give you guys. I plan to make more thorough guides, especially on like 113, and I plan to make a guide for every Pokemon in the game coming in the future. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.